You kind of mentioned one thing about, take a step back a little bit. You had talked about kind of them being level ones and or one levels and not having the experience of having a team sergeant or anything like that. But you probably get a decent amount of cross trainees that are coming in from other career fields within the Air Force, and then maybe even some Army or Navy folks and Marines. But like as an instructor there, what is your and it being an apprentice course, what is your expectation of those cross trainees?
So this is something we go back and forth with all the time. And so you'll hear you'll have a staff sergeant come through, you'll have a tech sergeant come through, whatever the prior service experience is. Sometimes you'll get Marines that come through. And our expectation is that they can still be performing in that at that 3 skill level that we need them to when they graduate. No more, no less. And the reason being is because it's an unrealistic expectation for somebody who's never been a PJ to all of a sudden be performing at this very high level. They're going through the exact same curriculum. And so to expect to have a different result is just, it doesn't happen. And every now and then you'll get those guys, and maybe he has no prior experience, that for whatever reason, this guy is just an all-star. He just crushes every part of it. And you'll see those guys and you're like, yep, dibs on him when he gets to a team. Everybody wants the all-star.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You're like, that's my horse right there. Give me that guy. Get that guy. Yeah.
Yeah, because people will call us from units and they'll be like, hey, which guys do we want? And I'm like, hey, I would go for these ones. And they're like, okay, cool, man. Thanks. Good to know. And so
nice.
Like everybody does it. We get phone calls all the time. Like 3 new guys showed up. What do you know about them? Well, we know quite a bit. We just had them for 6 months.
Right. And I want to highlight it here too. Like this stuff happens, like your reputation, you start building your reputation from the day one that you take your initial fitness test at home with your recruiter. End of statement. You are your rotate. Like when you graduate the apprentice course and you put that beret on for the first time and you hear, blouse boots and Don berets, it's not like everybody's like, okay, cool. Your journey starts now. You may have those boots, blouse, and that beret, but we still remember everything that you did in the pipeline. And our friends call us because we might not have the time. Our team leader friends, especially you're talking, Ty mentioned it earlier, but you could be deployed, within, 30, 60, 120 days from when you get to your first unit. So we need all of that information about, personality and performance and ability to work on your own, because just like Ty started off with, we have a ton of mission sets that we could do. And young PJs are asked to do more on their own than I'd say any other career field. You're really put in these positions where sometimes you are alone on a team. Sometimes you are required to make your own decisions in your own lane at your own level. And we put that decision way earlier on guys and gals than other career fields in the Air Force and even other career fields in AFSPEC war. So you really need to be able to operate in those environments. And sometimes the team leaders are like, most times really, the team leaders like, hey, what do you know about this guy? How are they? How do they do? I mean, I did it myself as a flight chief. I called down to friends down there and said, hey, I got a couple of these guys. I'm taking them on deployment right away. I mean, I think I deployed my 2 3-level PJs. We went out to the deployment we did, I think less than 6 months after they got to the team. And, they're at an ST and they're doing a completely different mission set, one that they'd never seen before. And you got to get that information. So that being said, we're always professional, everybody. We're not going to tell all of your bad stories unless you have a hilarious one. And then, sorry, like that's what you get. Welcome to the team.
No, it also doesn't mean that you can't, like when we talk about, hey, failing fast or don't dwell on your mistakes. It's not those kind of mistakes that we sit here and like, oh, let me tell these guys about, he tied a knot incorrectly, or
look at this idiot.
Like, yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, try and get me to tie anything other than an inside bowline or a freaking square knot, right? But but hey, maybe a negligent discharge might follow you for a bit. It doesn't mean that you can't recover from it, right? But like, that's a big freaking deal. So if you're not gone, maybe you can recover from it. But yeah, I'm with you. We're building a resume, if you will, from day one. So Like, we want to know the project that we're getting. And that's why I said that, Ty. Like, I'm really, really happy with every single person that I've come out of the PJ Schoolhouse. Like, and that's not just the PJ Schoolhouse. I'm talking about, SR and CCT and TAC-P as well. Like, I'm really happy with this new generation.
It's definitely different. And the biggest struggle that we've had at our schoolhouse is trying to teach guys that sometimes you just got to work. And so there's this big disconnect. And so looking for faster ways, looking for more efficient ways, which are great. But sometimes I just need a guy to stop trying to problem solve and just pick something up and put it in. Right. And that's really where our big disconnect is, where we're trying to get guys to embrace that. Because that's what we have after actions for. That's what we have debriefs for, where it's, guys, something didn't go right about this. Let's figure out how I can do this better next time. But it's not always the time to problem solve really in depth in the moment when I just need to get a patient into a vehicle. Sometimes you just pick them up and put them in.
Right. We used to, and it's funny how, things change, but things stay the same. There's a mass casualty that we usually do at the final evaluation phase. One of the best teams that I ever saw perform in the mass casualty is they just did exactly what you said. Like, hey, we're going to problem solve this later. Give me a 90% solution, and we're going to solve the other 10% with just good old American muscle. And they would get to a patient, they would stop life threats, and they wouldn't wait for a litter. They wouldn't do anything. Those dudes just hossed the patients up, put them on their back, and ran over to their team leaders like, okay, where do we want to go now? And I'll worry about a litter here in a second. But that's an outstanding way to kind of put it. Is like, sometimes you just need to do the work. Like, sometimes you just need to work hard, and not everything is going to be some slick technological solution. Not everything is going to be some wacky out of the box thing where you're like, oh, because I thought really hard about it, we don't have to sweat now. That's not the point, man. Like, sometimes you got to put the gloves on and go to work. You know what I mean?
Yep, that's exactly it.
I hate it when why is my skin crying? That's called sweat, Aaron. It happens when you get hot.